Tracy Gillespie Evitts disappeared from Kansas City, Missouri on February the 28th, 1977. Evitts was last seen wearing a hand-knit three-quarter length blue sweater with vertical maroon lines, maroon turtleneck blouse, maroon slacks, wooden wedge shoes with a brown leather strap, and she also had a plaid gold bracelet with a knot in the center, white gold wedding band, and wide gold engagement ring with a single solitaire diamond from Helzberg Diamonds, white gold square-faced woman's watch on her person between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. that day. She was employed at the law firm of Miller, Simmons, Moore and Young, Miller and O'Laughlin Law Firm, at the 800 West 47th Street, where she worked as a legal secretary. It was during her lunch hour, and she was carrying a leather shoulder bag as well as a black and white pocketbook. She had her watch adjusted, browsed several stores on the Country Club Plaza, drove to a drugstore on Main Street and Westport Road, and bought coffee and an umbrella. Evitts' yellow 1970 MG sports car with the license plate number JOE 4869 was found back in its customary space in the Plaza Center building's parking garage that afternoon, with the umbrella she bought in the front seat, but there was no sign of her and she has never been heard from again. Her loved one stated she was very attached to her car and it would be uncharacteristic for her to walk anywhere when she could drive. Donald Evitts, her husband, didn't realize she was missing until 6 p.m. when Evitts' supervisor called him to ask why she hadn't returned to the office after lunch. Dawn called several of her friends, but no one had seen her. And I got pretty frantic about it and called the police, he says. Police told Evitts that they would not do anything until after she had been missing for at least 24 hours. Children looking for a lost dog found Loy's purse and some other belongings 10 days later under the Reinhardt Road bridge that spans Little Cedar Creek near 82nd Street, a bridge in southeast Kansas City near Unity Village. Police later searched a stretch of Interstate 470 and Lee's Summit that was under construction. Still nothing was found. In the weeks following her disappearance, investigators interviewed more than 200 people. Detectives followed up on more than 1,000 leads. Bodies of water in Johnson and Jackson counties were dragged for signs of a body or any other clues. Nothing was found. Evitts even visited a psychic. No luck there either. After about 30 days had passed, Evitts came to a conclusion that his wife of 4.5 years was likely dead. Time has only confirmed his fears. She's been gone this long. You can't expect her to come back and still be alive, he said. I don't think she ran off, but we don't know. We just don't know. She was born and raised in Coffeyville, Kansas, and was a former Queen nominee at Kansas State University, where she studied clothing and retailing. She lived in Overland Park, Kansas at the time of her disappearance, was happily married, and was not having any personal or financial problems. She is described as a meticulous person, both about her appearance and her possessions. The couple met in their hometown of Coffeyville and in southeast Kansas. He was 19 and she was 17. They went on their first date on November the 4th, 1965, when they went to the movies to see Cat Ballou. They continued to see each other while Don earned an undergraduate degree at Pittsburgh State University. In 1968, he enlisted in the U.S. Army and shipped to fight in the Vietnam War. Back home, Loy Evitts went to study nursing in Tulsa, Oklahoma, before she transferred to Kansas State University, where she majored in fashion merchandising. Evitts let her drive his Firebird while he was overseas and wrote every week. Loy decorated a bulletin board she kept in her dorm room with his military photos. They got married in a small ceremony on November the 4th, 1972, in Coffeyville, Kansas. They eventually settled down in a small bungalow in Overland Park, where Dawn continues to live. The couple never had any children, and thanks to him, we have Loy's DNA in the NamUs database. Evitts' disappearance is considered suspicious, but little evidence is available in her case. Her husband had her declared legally dead 7 years after she was last seen. He has never remarried and still hopes for answers in her disappearance. Disappearance of Overland Park's woman remains a heart-wrenching mystery decades later. Today, Evitts remains in the Kansas County City Police Department's longest unsolved missing persons case. Her husband, Vietnam veteran Donald Evitts of Overland Park, says probably not a day that goes by that he doesn't think of her sometime. And there are still no new leads, and right now the case is suspended pending new information, said Sergeant Ben Caldwell, a supervisor in the missing persons cold case section. Police do not suspect her husband in the case. When a Kansas City police officer interviewed Evitts, he wept at discussing the loss of his wife. Caldwell said he broke down and cried, much like he did in 1977 when he was interviewed by police, said Caldwell. He's obviously still very heartbroken. David Evitts recalls his brother decades of anguish. Don never remarried, he said, never dated again. He said, Loy was the one and only love of his life. David Evitts said his brother was harassed sometimes by prank phone callers, telling him they had information about Loy's whereabouts. Strangers would ask Don about his wife. At one point, managers at his work sent a memo telling people to stop asking him about his wife. That type of stuff really got to Don, said David. It put him into a depression that I don't think he has ever been able to overcome. About a year after his wife disappeared, Yvette started hanging out in Westport bars. It cost me a couple of jobs because I was drinking too much, he says. I tried to tough it out when I was all alone. I cried, I really cried, he says. He assuaged the pain by constructing train sets and playing the guitar. Events remained cautiously optimistic that someday someone may help step forward and pass along a tip that would help learn why the decades-old case hasn't been solved and why there's still a mystery. I learned to never get my hopes up too much because they all failed in the end, he says. Surely somebody knows something. Nearly every surface inside Donald G. Evitts' house in Overland Park is covered with model trains. The Vietnam veteran took up the hobby of building model trains as a form of therapy several years after his wife mysteriously vanished. It helps keep my mind off what happened that day, Evitts said. The disappearance of Loy Evitts is one of the most baffling in Kansas City history. Loy C. Gillespie Evitts, a white female, was born on December the 12th, 1947. She has long blonde hair and hazel eyes, 5 feet 5 inches tall, and weighed approximately 126 when she went missing at 29 years of age. She has a scar on her abdomen from appendix surgery, and her DNA and dental files are available. If you have any information about this case, please contact the Kansas City Police Department's Missing Persons Unit at 816-234-5136 or call the Kansas City Police Department's Tips Hotline, where you can leave anonymous tips, and it's 816-434-TIPS. Or you can always remain anonymous and call your local Crime Stoppers.